So welcome, this is Writing Your College Essay, Lunch and Learn for Juniors. And we are here with Barbara Fischleder, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. There's lots of material to cover. So I'll just let Barbara take it away.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm going to just jump right in, which is actually exactly what I am hoping you're going to do with your essays this summer, because we're hoping that you give yourself the great gift of efficiency and jump right in this summer and begin writing. And it's also how I recommend that you write your essays, which is the content of your essays, which is what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. I'm going to start with just kind of the big picture stuff, which is, why do you think the colleges ask you to write essays? And a lot of students feel that it's a test in terms of, do you have writing ability? Do you have the, can you write creatively? Can you express yourself? The truth is, though, that they already know that about you, because they have your grades, they have your curriculum, they have your list of activities, which you might not yet see this, but your list of activities and the way that you present what you did also shows your writing skills. So they know a lot about you already before they get to the essay. And I think of it, and we're going to return to this also, but I think of it as, here's your box. They know the dimensions of your box. They know, the patterns, the colors, the depth to some extent. They've got some, what I would say, objective type information about you. For example, if you submitted your test scores, they've got that. They certainly have your trajectory of grades. They have a lot of kind of, maybe objective's not exactly right, I would say sanitized information about you. But what they don't have, and what your real challenge is to take the lid off this box so they can find out what's inside. And as you can hear, there are things in here, so we're going to get back to that too. So that is really what the colleges and universities are challenging you to do, is to take the lid off the box, because what they want to know is you. What is different about you? What is special about you? What makes you you? And you may be feeling, well, I'm not that special of a person. But everyone is special. Everybody has a special story. Everybody has things that they're interested in that have greatly influenced them. And that's what they want to know, because they have limited seats, and they are looking to have people hold those seats that are a good match and that will stay there and enjoy being there, because then you go forward, you become an alumni, you encourage other people to go to the school. That's in part how the school perpetuates, and it's also the mission of the school. So they want a good match. They don't want you to be unhappy, and you want a good match. So the real why of why do they ask you to write essays is because there's a gigantic piece missing, and it is you, and that's what they want. And just to further address the writing skills issue about when you do write your essay, they can tell your writing skills from other things, but your essays tell them actually what your perspectives are, what your commitment to their school is, and your attitude. And it's a very subtle subtext. And I've read lots of essays by students who were not enthusiastic about going to that particular school or answering that particular essay. And the way those essays come out is like a flat line. It's not an essay that is from their heart, and the schools can tell that. So it definitely shows your attitude and your commitment and your perspective in a way that is not even conscious when you're writing it. And all this is actually really, really good news for you, because what it means is that you can, and you definitely should, write about what you deeply care about. You want to write about what is, in your heart. And I don't mean as a, dumping everything that you feel today about it, about a topic, but what you write about should be something that's meaningful to you. And if the school is asking you to write essays that you really can't connect with, it's something to consider whether that school really is a good match for you, because they make great efforts to pick essay topics that follow the culture that they offer and that follow their values. So if they are directing you in ways through their essays in a direction that you just can't connect with, it's worth thinking and rethinking, because you have a really big choice here. This is not a, mandatory English assignment. This is something that you can decide if you want to do it or not. And that attitude about your choice comes through in that essay. And so hopefully what you'll be able to do is find and apply, and I know you'll be able to do this, is find and apply to schools that are a good match. And then when you write your essay, it will connect with what that university is about. And, if you love philosophy and the essay prompts are about something philosophical, you're going to love that. If you hate philosophy, then, those essay prompts are telling you something about that school. So, excuse me, I want to talk for a moment now about what types of essays you might be asked to write. Well, first of all, you can go to a college or a university and not have to write essays at all. And for a lot of people, that's the right choice. So again, these are things that you are involved in. You are the master of your future and in choosing your future. So another thing to keep in mind is that for the schools that require essays, there's generally a kind of the primary essay or personal statement, sometimes it's called a personal statement, is a general opportunity for you to tell the university or college about yourself. And that's really what they want. It's the specific question is a way to reach that. And many of them use the Common Application, which has 7 options for prompts. And you should never worry about what prompt to take to use, because one of the prompts is write about anything that you want. So the way to approach a school that uses the Common App is to just write your essay. And I'm going to tell you in a few minutes some tips for doing that. But you should write your essay and then figure out what prompt you can fit it into if it's a Common App school. If it's not a Common App school and it's got very specific prompts, then you have to really focus on what it is that they want. So when you're writing your essay, do keep referring back. Is this answering their prompt? Because they want answers to that specific prompt. And you see that also in the supplemental essays that schools offer or ask you to write. And speaking of offering, if they say an essay is option, it's really optional. It's really not optional. You should always answer even the optional essays. So it may sound like an offer that you could take or leave, but really it's better to answer all of those or opt in for all of those optional essays. The more common supplemental statements or essays have to do with why do you want to go to this university? Or they're an opportunity for you to talk about something that you want to reveal that's personal to you, in the sense that maybe it's your favorite book or your favorite author or your favorite film or your favorite music mix. They just want to hear more about you. And sometimes it's which of the school's guiding principles resonates deepest for you. And then they again want you to reveal yourself, because all of these things really are pointed at who are you? What is your personality? What have you done to develop yourself? What do you want to do as you move forward? And just listening to myself say those things, I can feel that can be can sound a little daunting, but it's not that hard to do. And I'm going to get there in a minute about how to do that. It's really talking about what you love, because that is what encapsulates all of it. How much does it matter? How much does your essay matter? How much should you work at it? How do you prioritize? The answer to that really depends on a couple of main things. It depends on how your personal profile interacts with or compares to what the college profile is. For example, there are many students who are applying to colleges that are just kind of on the edge. They don't have, maybe it was difficult for them to perform in classes, and so their grades aren't that good, but they're very smart and very motivated. Or maybe they had a family emergency or some other thing happened where it was difficult for them to get good grades. Students who are on the edge for what the college profile is can really make a difference in their chances for college admission by working hard on their essay, making them clear and making them really show what is unique and personal to you. And I've worked with lots of students who have successfully done that and gotten into the schools of their dreams because they worked so hard on their essays and also in improving their grades as they went along. So how much it matters, the first component is look at your profile compared to the college's profile. And that could be test scores in most years. We don't know what it's going to be like next year, but grades, curriculum, activities, but also how much do you want to go to that school? Because if you really want to go, then you want to give them the very best picture of you that you possibly can. So it does matter because they have lots of people competing for seats for some schools anyway. And so if all things are equal between you and another candidate, your essay is going to turn their head because that essay that you write is going to be something that only you can write because it's going to be from your heart and it's going to be just a big window onto how you think and how you want to interact with the world. So again, I don't want to overwhelm you with that concept because now I'm going to tell you how to choose a topic and also give you some ideas for kind of how to approach it and how to structure it. I'm really, really happy to answer your questions as I go along here, which I neglected to say at the beginning here. But I just feel free to, unmute yourself and ask your question, or you could put it in the chat box. Kelly's going to monitor the chat box. And so I will continue because time is short, but please feel free to interrupt me. So it doesn't matter so much what you choose to write about. It matters how you write about it and what you cover in the topic.
9 people on it.
It really is a springboard for you to tell about yourself. And so another way to look at it is that when you are writing, think about everything that they already have, which I mentioned. They have your grades, they have test scores if you submitted them, they have your curriculum, they have your activities. And so think of it as this is your substitute for a personal interview with the college. What do you want them to know about you? What do you want them to understand about you? What are your priorities? What are your perspectives that you think are important, that you feel are important for them to know? And if nothing jumps out at you at this moment, which, that's logical, everyone has been led very busy lives and you're at a real passage in your life. And with that passage comes this kind of self-reflection. It's kind of like driving. You are both the looking back at what you have done and looking forward with respect to what you want to do. And I think somebody was asking about the length of the topics. So the general essay is usually, and this varies from school to school, but it's generally 500 to 650 words, which may sound like a lot at this moment, but it is not a lot. And so that's sometimes it's up to 850. And then the supplemental statements and the supplemental kinds of essays are usually even shorter. They can be 100 words or 200 words. So you don't have a lot of space. You don't have a lot of words to get your point across, which brings me to a point I want to tell you about. And that is when you look back at your essay, every single word should be in there for a reason. Every single sentence that you have in there should be tied to a theme that you are trying to accomplish, because otherwise you're going to lose the reader. So, but let's go back here to the idea of reflecting on where you've been, what you have done, and I am going to give some examples, what you have done and where you want to go. So some things that you could write about, for example, some ideas for generating some topics are what makes you happy, what makes you satisfied, what intrigues you, what kinds of things do you do where you're so absorbed in it that time just totally evaporates. Have you had an experience in your life where the lessons that you learned completely changed your life, or your perspective maybe completely opened up your eyes? Have you experienced, a kind of change from that? Do you have a unique interest or activity that really shows your personality and who you are and how you spend your time outside of classes? Is there something just quirky about you that you want to write about, or unique about you, a talent, and it can be an interest? Or is there a way that you are in your heart really wanting to affect a certain kind of change in the world? Those kinds of things resonate for some people, but not for everybody, because you haven't had a lot of time to self-reflect, and this is a great opportunity for you to do it. If those kinds of things don't help you generate an idea for an essay, then another approach would be what some people call the object lesson, and that is to look at things. I would normally say your lockers, but I know you haven't been in school, but so look at your desk at home or wherever you do your homework. Look at your room. Look around your house. Look at what you carry in your backpack for something that is important to you. And so I'm going to show you something that's important to me, which to you, it will just look like a golden apple. But to me, this is something that I've had for a very long time. I'm sure it looks very old school to you, but I can tell you, at least 10 of my values are in this object. And it's not necessarily that I would be talking about this object. You can talk about the object that is important to you, and that's fine. Or the object can help you pull your ideas together. For example, when I look at this, it reminds me of a very challenging personal experience that I had when I was actually around in high school, that I really deeply grew from. It reminds me of my love of learning, because it's actually, I know you can't tell, but it's actually a bookend, and it's an apple. So it reminds me of, nature, reminds me of teaching and inspiring people. All of those things ended up being very important to me. It reminds me of what I wanted to accomplish and what kind of person I wanted to be. So it's just an object that you care about can be kind of a vehicle to help you think about what do you want to tell in your essay. So that's the nature of the object lesson. You can talk about the object, or you can talk about the values and things that reminds you of, and maybe an experience that you had that is related to that object. If you The same can happen with, if you love a particular food, you can talk about that in the context of what else does it bring up? How does it reflect upon you and you, there's cultural things that have to do with the food that you want to talk about, or a place that you care about. You can take your ideas about yourself and do what I would call a mind map. I know many of you are familiar with that concept, but it's just a way to brainstorm and write down every single idea you have ever had, or that you have at the moment about you, and to not worry about how they come out or anything else, but just get ideas down on some kind of page and see what the trends are, see what evolves, see what stories or experiences may be there for you to turn into an essay, because those are the kinds of things that the schools do want to hear about. They want you to examine your values and your needs and tell them about it. And there are some exercises in the resources for those of you who want some tools for figuring out what your values and needs are, because once you figure them out, then you can think about a way to communicate them in your essay and wrap them into either an explanation of an experience or your growth from it. So in terms of more examples, I know students who have written about their unique interests, like glass sculptures, creating glass sculptures, solving math problems, studying botany, learning new words from the dictionary, hiking, mixing music. It can be an experience, and if you write about an experience that was a hardship, you want to be sure to not just talk about the hardship, but talk about the personal growth that you got from going through that hardship, the resilience that you developed, and also the just how it changed you and how it gave you tools for the future. So regardless of which kind of topic you choose, what you want to make sure you do is, and this is just a reminder on this slide, that the topic is way less important, as I showed you with my apple, than what your discussion is. You want to pick a narrow topic and discuss it very specifically, because they don't want a general discussion of a global problem. They want to know about you. So if you have done something to help solve that global problem and you want to talk about that and how that impacted you, that's great. But don't just discuss the global problem. Your essay should be just about you, in the sense that only you could write it. It should incorporate 3 to 5 of your values. And it should definitely, I mentioned this, that if it's about a hardship, it should be about your personal growth. So a couple of other things, and I'm going to go really fast here because otherwise I'm going to run out of time. A few other things to keep in mind is that your experiences, even if you feel like it's quirky, they help you stand out, which is something that helps you in an essay. And the other thing I want to point out is that this is all going to take a lot of time. So do begin writing this summer. Assume that you will need to write and rewrite and rewrite. It's going to take many drafts. You want to do a great job. So allocate the time and be emotionally and logistically prepared to spend a lot of time on it, and have somebody look at your work. The College Center can help you. We have mentors, we can help you. Have somebody proofread your essays and look at them for suggestions. Back to my little box here. Remember I said there were things in this box that you might want to know? Well, I've been an editor for over 25 years. I still let everybody, anything that I'm going to publicly show to people, I have somebody else look at it. So if you, I should say, when you look at my Google Doc link, which has these points and the concepts in greater detail in the link that's at the end of the presentation, or if you see something in my presentation that's not right, let me know and you'll get a gift certificate for a bubble tea, because every editor, everyone needs an editor, even the editors. Okay, I'm gonna quickly talk about the structure of your essay and the content and how to approach it, because one of the very most important things is that you just start writing. Don't worry at all about what your introduction is going to be, what your conclusion is going to be, how it's going to flow. Just write and save for later the sorting out, the arranging of your essay, cutting words or meeting the word deadline. You probably won't have any trouble meeting the word count, and determining what the introduction and conclusion is, because a lot of students end up getting stuck trying to approach their essay in a linear way, so that first they do the introduction, and then they do the center, and then they do the conclusion. And that is not the best way to do your essay. Just write, order it later, examine it later, and look for what is the most interesting part of your essay, because that in the world of writing is called the hook for the reader. And that is actually how you want to start. You want to start, which is what I was referring to at the beginning about jumping right in. You want to pull the reader into the deep end of your essay at the very, very beginning. So instead of wading in and giving them lots of background about how you love to work with machines, instead you set the stage at the very beginning with something that is, you could even say is dramatic. You could start it with, I heard the shrill whistle of the train coming down the track, because the readers then like, okay, what's going to happen with this train? What's happening here? That you've got to pull them in. They read thousands of essays. And so you can't figure that out at the beginning, generally. I mean, sometimes somebody has an idea and they build from there, but for the most part, most human beings, write all this stuff and then rearrange it, which is the beauty of cut and paste and being able to now so easily do it. So keep in mind that you want to draw your reader in at the very beginning, and it definitely does not have to be linear. When you're done with your essay, you want to be sure that it shows that you are in there, that it's from your heart, that every word is in there for a reason, which I already mentioned. And that brings me to my next point, which is that there are no duplications, because the word count is too small. If it's in there once, that's the only amount that it needs to be in there, that it's in your words, even if somebody's helping you edit, and your writing voice, and that everything's spelled well and is grammatically correct. So I'm going to quickly now move to talking a little bit about the supplemental essays, because we're going to run out of time here. But for the supplemental essay, a very prominent one, or a very common one, is the why us, meaning why come to this university. So here's the formula for writing the why us supplemental essay. Basically, your goal is to show that you thoroughly understand what the school offers and what makes it unique, and that it resonates for you, that you want to be there. So you do that by thoroughly researching their website. And sometimes, especially during COVID, the websites have webinars about that literally are panel discussions of students, so you get a good sense of the culture of the school. And then they talk about like why us essays and which ones they like and why they like it. So they're giving you all of the things that you should do. So on that website, you will find amazing things. Also, they sometimes discuss what they mean by the holistic review and what's important to them. So there's more than a campus tour on that website, and do attend webinars and do go deep on the website so that you can really get a sense of the school's culture and the specifics, because the formula, which is up on the screen here, has to do with, you want to talk about 3 to 5 things about the school. So here's 3. Something about their academics, which shows up in the form of maybe an area of study, a professor that happens to be at that school, maybe it's a research project that they have, going on. Maybe it's a special curriculum that they offer, something at that school academically that appeals to you and how it will help you achieve your goals. Something related to other programs at the school, such as can be, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just like I did my homework kind of thing. Could be about a club. It could be about the school's community outreach. It could be about the study abroad program or their efforts to sustainability, something that appeals to you. And then another thing, at a minimum, another thing, which can be light or serious. Light being, maybe there's a great culture within the school for school spirit, and there's lots of sports events and students love it, and you look forward to doing that, or you look forward to walking on their diag, or something more serious that may have to do with your learning style and how their classroom size meets it, or anything else literally that appeals to you about the school, that shows them that you know about the school. I mentioned summer. You really should give yourself the gift of freedom by using your summer. You have a lot to do, and it's only going to get worse in your senior year. So write your essay, bring it to as close to a final draft as you possibly can. We are happy to help you over the summer, and the next slide has our contact information. But these other things are also important. You can do the general portion of the Common App. You can create your activities list, which takes more time than you might think. You can gather your financial information. You can research schools and evaluate the fit, and you should explore scholarship opportunities, because often they require essays too. So there is a link in the chat box to this presentation, and in the presentation there's a link to my Google Doc that goes into these points in greater detail than my slides, and covers all of these topics. So there's lots of resources in the Google Doc, and there's resources for finding schools, resources at the College Center, there's resources for scholarships. And then we are really, really happy to help you. And I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, who also has some announcements, unless somebody wants to ask me a question.
Oh,
and Kelly,
yeah.
I'm not sure about the going over time here, so.
We're going over time a little bit. Real quick, Duncan asked, speaking of not worrying about formatting at first, when do we get to that step? When we get to that step, is there a certain way we should format it?
Okay, if it's a Common App school, the essay for the Common App will automatically be formatted by the Common App. So you don't have to worry about that too much. Otherwise, the school should have it on their site if they have a specific form. If you mean like literally like what font and what size, then it should be on the school site, but the Common App automatically does it.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording just for the length of the video, and but we're going to hang out here, and we are